Hi, I'm Jerry Miller, and we're sitting here in the Cook's Garden on Abbot Kinney in the middle of Los Angeles. And Homegrown Edible Landscapes, that's our company. This is situated right smack dab in the hottest culinary center in LA right now. Really up and down the block, there are wonderful chefs who are ingredient driven, really prize high quality and the art on the plate that's really featured by beautiful ingredients. We custom grow ingredients specifically for the chefs. We are sought after to procure unusual seeds, things that they can't find in the farmer's market, or if they do, it's not to their quality specifications. We also custom harvest for them. So a chef can come in and say, I only want the mizunas as babies. So we will come in and hand harvest each leaf to their specifications. We go in and select the individual leaf that meets that particular chef's specifications. Each chef is different. So we may have one chef over here who has 10 beds that wants the mizuna very small, but we may have another chef over here that prefers it in a larger size. It's a very artisanal approach to urban farming, and it's a handcrafted type of farming. So here at the Cook's Garden, we are currently growing for Willie Jane, the Tasting Kitchen, Feed, and Scopa. This was a wonderful physical place that we could do classes and have a lot of interaction with the community, as well as obviously growing for very talented chefs. We're offering the same type of subscription for raised beds for area residents who would like this kind of food but can't grow it at home for some reason. They don't have enough space or enough light. And that has allowed us to build some wonderful relationships with the people who live in this area. This is a beautiful day in the garden. We're going to be transplanting tomatoes today, and I'm going to show you how to correctly do it. You may be shocked at what I'm about to do, but let me first explain to you a few reminders about plant structure. So we've got the root ball down here, of course. This is a sign of a healthy root ball. The roots are not overly entwined. They seem to be nice and white, which is a good sign. I don't see any evidence of rot, so I'm happy with the way this root system looks. But a little bit more about an indeterminate tomato versus a determinate type. Indeterminate means that the plant itself will continue to grow throughout the growing season and produce for you as long as the temperature in the environment is good and nice and warm to develop the glucose in the fruits. So you'll have a very tall plant at the end of the season and an ongoing source of tomatoes. So I prefer an indeterminate type. Determinate types mean that they'll grow only to a certain height, and they'll give you basically one flush of harvest. And that's always nice if you're trying to time your harvest in a very short season, if you're living in a colder climate. But we here in Southern California are blessed, so we try and stick with indeterminate types. But because the indeterminates get so big, it's important to plant them correctly so that the plant develops a nice, healthy, strong trunk. If you can look closely, you'll see that there are little hairs along the trunk. And I'm going to show you, these hairs will play a very important role in our transplanting this plant, and I'll show you that in just a minute. So this is what we're going to do. This is the size of the seedling that we got from our growers. We are going to remove 2/3 of the leaf structure of the plant. And I know this is going to be shocking to you. What I want you to also do is look to see if the plant has formed any buds or flowers or even is setting fruit. You want to remove them before you plant, and I know this is terrible, but you really want to force that plant to not send its energy to these little buds to develop fruit and flower yet. You want it to send its energy down to the root system to develop a good sound root ball in its new home. So I want you to pinch off any blossoms or buds or fruit that you find on your plant before you plant it out. Then I want you to do what we call tickling the toes of the plant. This is just, even though this root ball looks good, I want to loosen it up. You might notice how the roots are starting to circle the root ball. This is because the plant was in a pot for a long time and it had used up all the soil that was available to it, so the roots are starting to entangle the root ball. And we want to break that cycle so that the roots will be encouraged to find their own way in the new beautiful soil we're going to put them in. Now I've dug a hole and it's very, very deep because what we're going to do is plant this all the way down so the soil is now up to the last third, the top third of the tomato plant. Remember the little hairs I talked to you about before? All of those that are underneath in the soil are going to become part of the root system. What also will happen if we do this is the plant is going to develop a very thick trunk. And increasing the girth of the trunk is important for an indeterminate plant because at the end of the season it's going to be maybe even 20 feet tall. We grow our indeterminates up this arch and they will fully cover this 7-foot arch. We're just going to pull back this great soil we have, holding the stem of the tomato so it does remain vertical. We don't want it bending. And I want you to just gently push the soil down. We do not want to compact the soil or press any of the oxygen out, but we still want that soil to be light and fluffy. And there you go, new tomato plant for the warm season. So obviously we're selling these to our kitchen, so we're very, very careful about biosecurity and of course the health and happiness of our animals. And I always, when we're asked, I always stress to folks who are thinking about doing this in backyards that they do a lot of research first, because you are taking care of an animal, so you want to make sure you're up to it, you've got the available space and time, and you know how to manage your livestock. Biologically, the chickens are able to lay 1 egg every 24 hours, but realistically, this depends on the breed and it depends on the environment. Shorter day lengths will decrease your frequency of eggs being laid. And other things too, like if the chicken is stressed for some reason, if it's being picked on, which can happen in the pecking order of the flock, that can affect a chicken's egg laying frequency too. Okay, oh, the morning. They start off slow, but they end up with a bang. So by the end of today, I'll have probably 6 more eggs. It's really a lovely balance that you have to strike, and that's really what we're after. We are developing an entire ecosystem here at the farm. So any input, any output, it all has to be balanced and it all has to be very considered as far as the impact whatever thing you're putting in or taking out has on the whole environment. So that means the air surrounding us, the wildlife, the soil, the microorganisms in the soil. It's all got to be in balance, and that's really what we're here to do, is just be stewards to this little ecosystem we've developed.